George, take roll.
Colonel Evans?
Here.
Mr. Grozan?
Here.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Here.
Mr. Miko?
Here.
Mr. Naso? All
Here.
present.
Stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. That brings us to district goals. Number one goal, student achievement. Everything we do revolves around that. Everything in this packet, everything here is focused on that. The second one is financial prudence. We're here to make sure that every tax dollar is spent the way it should be, to maximize the educational value and to show respect to the taxpayers who give it to us. The third one is community engagement. We utilize our community on a regular basis, nearly, I'm certain, every single day, to make this a better district. There's a lot of talent there. We're going to continue to rely on them to help us through things. With that, that brings us to recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Naso. It's my honor to have Mayor Persiak with us here tonight to say thanks, to pay tribute, to share in the great work that two of our board members that are moving on from the board at the end of this term. So we'd like to start with Ms. Ludwig. So Ms. Ludwig, if you would go to the podium with Mayor Persiak, as he's going to share some of our appreciation with you tonight.
Right here would be fine. Well, good evening, everybody. My voice is hoarse, so please forgive me. I have a proclamation for Jane here this evening on behalf of the city and the city council. I, Thomas Persiak, mayor of the city of Strongsville, along with all members of the city council, and Matt Schoenhardt is here tonight, want to extend our appreciation to Jane Ludwig for 6 years of service as a member of the Strongsville Board of Education. And whereas Jane was appointed to the Strongsville School Board in March of 2014 and was elected to that position in November of 2015. Whereas during her time on the board, she has served on the Curriculum Advisory Committee, the Policy Committee, and has served as the board liaison at various times to the Strongsville City Council, Strongsville PTA Council, and the OSBA Student Achievement. And whereas Jane participated in and helped to bring about the passage of the 2016 school levy renewal, and in 2019, the new operating levy. She also supported communication enhancements between the district and our community. Whereas as she has been a proponent of the TURF project, supported improved writing and communication instruction in the schools, and instituted the practice of using the Student Achievement Liaison Report to highlight student classroom accomplishments. And whereas Jane is a graduate of Strongsville High School and received her bachelor's degree in business from Miami University, Jane resides in Strongsville with her husband Mark and her children Daniel and Sarah. Whereas she has been an active community member for the past 17 years, as evidenced by her time on the Strongsville School Board, and we hope that her activism continues. Now therefore I, Thomas Persiak, do hereby proclaim today, Thursday, December 12th, as a day of celebration for Jane Ludwig in the city of Strongsville, and do hereby offer this proclamation of appreciation for her 6 years of service to the Strongsville City Schools, where she has given generously of her time and efforts. We wish you health and happiness in the future. God bless, and all the best to you and Mark and the kids, and a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. That's lovely.
You're welcome.
Oh gosh, it's been a joy being on the school board and seeing all of our accomplishments as a board. All the decisions I've made, I tried to have the students in mind first, and then the families and taxpayers second, to try and balance that out along with our district goals that we have maintained for the last 6 years that I've been on the board. So thank you very much, Mayor and City Council. I truly appreciate this. And Merry Christmas to everyone.
You don't get to run the gauntlet, huh, Jane? You don't get to.
Next up, we'd like to recognize you, Mr. Naso, if you'd make your way to the podium with the mayor.
Hello, fellow number guy. How are you? How are you? We have a little something here for you, Carl. And it starts off, whereas I, Thomas Persiak, Mayor of the City of Strongsville, along with the members of City Council, that's Matt showing up, that's it back there, want to extend our appreciation to Carl Naso for 9 years of service as a member of the Strongsville Board of Education. And whereas Carl was appointed to fill a vacant seat on the Strongsville Board in January of 2011, he was elected to that position in 2012 and again in 2015. And whereas he served on many committees, including the Finance Committee, Policy Committee, Wellness Committee, Facilities Committee, Business Advisory Council Committee, and has served as a board liaison to the Strongsville Education Foundation. Carl has also served as board president for 7 years, from 2013 to the current day. Whereas Carl was a member of the team helping to pass the 2016 operating renewal levy and the 2019 new operating levy. And whereas during his time on the Strongsville School Board, Carl was involved with the turf project, soliciting donations to update the high school weight room, and help bring Chatwell's food service to the district. And whereas he was involved in the bringing of the Air Force Junior ROTC program to the district and negotiating the settlement with the Cleveland Clinic to return tax dollars to our school district. Carl was also instrumental in upgrading the school's bond rating, and that's no easy task. Whereas Carl is a certified public accountant with over 30 years of financial leadership and is a graduate of Kent State University. Carl and his wife Tina and their daughter Kirsten reside in Strongsville. Now therefore, I, Thomas Persiak, Mayor of the City of Strongsville, do hereby proclaim today, Thursday, December 12th, 2019, as a day of celebration for Carl Naso in the City of Strongsville, and do hereby offer this proclamation of appreciation for his 9 years of service to the Strongsville City Schools, where he has given generously of his time and talents. We wish you health and happiness for the future. All the best to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
You're a good man. Thank you for all your guidance, your help, and your support. I just wanted to thank the mayor for his continued guidance, support, and always being a sounding board for a lot of the issues we have. I'm proud of my 9 years. I'm proud of the 9 years we put together on this board. I'm proud of all our accomplishments, you know, from the middle school. Matt Shona was there with that, and Ken Evans, and a lot of people were here when we first got that thing going, and we got it built. Proud of it. Proud of the getting it, you know, I've mentioned that, you know, when I started on the board in 2011, we had $200,000 in the bank. We now have over pushing $30 million in the bank. Soon that'll be eaten up by state funding. So I'm really proud of that, the things we got done here. Someone else's turn to take the ball. I am 58 years old. I will be back here in 9 years, and I'm going to compare scorecards. So you guys better get it right. So we're going to see how we do. So I'm proud to be here. Thank you very much.
But
God
my
bless.
standards are young.
Yeah, that's why I'm sending me around, sir.
on behalf of all of the administration, teachers, and staff of the district and our community, I'd just like to thank both you, Carl and Jane, for your years of service, for your friendship, for your leadership, for your guidance. And although our roles and relationship may change as you take on new challenges in your public service lives, I just want to thank you for all that you've done. Personally, you guys hired me, so couldn't thank you more for that opportunity that you gave me for my first chance at this job and the trust that you put into me. And it's been an honor to work with both of you over my time in the district. And I can say with utmost certainty our district is a better place and we've got a brighter future because of the work that both of you have done. So thank you very much. On behalf of the district, we do have a little token of our appreciation. I would like you to open it because we actually made it here in our
excellent.
district. So hopefully you enjoy it.
I'm sure we will. It's quite heavy.
We have to open this together, Carl, so we
Yes,
don't
yes.
ruin the surprise
Yes,
for
they're
each other.
very similar, so you may want to open it together.
I have identical twin nieces, and they always be like, okay,
That's right.
one's faster than the other.
I smell stain.
I know.
Oh, wow, that's really nice. It's beautiful.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. And it's the official horse, not the,
That's right.
Yes, exactly. Not the laughing character horse.
Thank you. I love it.
Very
much.
welcome.
I love that, thank you. Means a lot that it was made here,
Yeah.
you know?
So, and
really
that's
cool.
through the work that we've all done to bring maker spaces into our district that was made in our maker spaces. And thanks to Jenny and Dwayne Cook for getting that all together and creating them for us, so thank you. With that, we do have another recognition. We'd like to bring our communications coordinator, Dan Faust, up to the podium to recognize our OSBA Media Role honorees this year. Dan?
Good evening. Each year, the Ohio School Boards Association gives school districts the opportunity to nominate and recognize members of the media as part of the OSBA Media Honor Roll. Tonight, it is my pleasure to recognize and congratulate Ann Morrison of the Strongsville Post and Shirley McFarland of the Sun News for being named to the 2019 Ohio School Boards Association Media Honor Roll. We're fortunate here in Strongsville to have these two reputable and well-read publications and their continued willingness to deliver stories of the accomplishments of our district, both inside and outside of the classroom. Unfortunately, Shirley could not make our meeting tonight. However, I would like to publicly thank her for always making room in her weekly Sun News and Cleveland.com column, Strong Points, for our district news and events. Ann is a dedicated reporter for the Strongsville Post who covers our district in a very thorough and fair manner. Whether it's a positive story or a story maybe dealing with a potentially controversial or negative subject, Ann can always be counted on for reporting the accurate facts. Both Ann and Shirley are very deserving of this recognition for being media representatives who share the news of our schools to not only those community members who have direct connections to our district with students currently enrolled in Strongsville City Schools, but also keeping those community members who do not have these direct connections up to date with the very latest news and happenings throughout our district. So congratulations to Ann and Shirley, and on behalf of our district, we very much appreciate and thank you for your continued coverage of our school district.
All right, she doesn't get away with it.
Go.
You don't get away with that. Come on up.
Thank you.
That ends the recognitions, Mr. Naso, so back
Okay.
to you.
That brings us to item 6, appointment of the president pro temp for the organization work meeting. With that, I'll take some nominations. I'd like to nominate Duke Evans, speaker pro temp for the next meeting. I don't know if there's any other nominations. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay. George, take roll.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
And Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Superintendent's report?
Thank you, Mr. Naso. We do have a presentation. Representatives from our Board Facilities Development Committee, Ken Evans and Kristen Mayle are here tonight. Ken's going to come up and give an update as to the work of the committee for the board. So Ken, take it away.
Thank you, Dr. Cameron. Good evening. I'm here with Kristen Mayle to represent the 10 members of the Board Facilities Development Committee and present our 2019 report. This is a follow-up to a long-range report we first submitted in 2016, updated in 17 and 18. As you know, this is a citizens review committee that works with various skills and experience that they bring to the table. We're submitting the report for public record. We are not going to go through it tonight page by page, but there is a lot of information in the 24 pages. The committee's objective is to look back at where the district has been, where we are now, and ensure that we do the things to maintain the support so that the students in our district and the community can meet the strategic plans for the future. Our committee continues to believe that the schools do benefit the community, both in encouraging the residential property sales and maintaining property values. There are 3 slides that I do want to bring to your attention tonight in the presentation. On slide number 6, we recap the projects that were completed with the $81 million bond issue that was done in 2012. Everyone sitting on the board tonight knows how well we worked with that money and the things that we were able to achieve, but we want to make sure that voters understand first and primary that we appreciate the support of the voters in Strongsville who approved that bond issue. Of the $81 million that we generated, we did a lot of projects, many more than what we anticipated we could achieve. The Strongsville High renovation was done, a new middle school was built, preschool renovations were done, and transportation center renovations were accomplished. These were things that we said we would do. But in addition to that, we were able to accomplish critical elementary mechanical repairs. We updated technology across the district, secured entries for elementary school buildings. Chapman was converted from all electric to natural gas. Parking lot renovations were done in all the buildings, and replacement of the high school tennis courts will be achieved with the remaining funds that we have from the $81 million. Those items that are listed in italic were in addition to the proposed projects. This was achieved due to aggressive bidding and making sure that everything that we did was on time and under budget. Because of oversight by the Ohio Schools Facilities Construction Commission and an independent consultant that was hired, we managed to affirm that all the work exceeded building standards and requirements were made to deliver a quality project that will last for years. So all of those things were achieved. It would not have been possible without the faith and support of voters in the community who saw the vision and extended their positive vote to put that bond issue through. For the $81 million, we achieved a significant investment for this community. Slide number 10 recaps things that have been done since our report in 2018. We evaluated current facilities and long-term needs and updated all of the information. And again, the reason that we're doing this is so that there is a strategic plan, not just bumbling through things, but making sure that we have a design, a plan, and can deliver on that to ensure that the schools are the best that they can be for the city of Strongsville. We studied all of the board-owned property, especially vacant parcels. We estimated mechanical restorations, both short and long-term. We assessed physical deficiencies in our buildings, and we reviewed facility options in relation to student population. All of these assessments are part of our long-term strategy, and they are things that this committee looks at all together, all along. Slide number 13 recommends 3 things from the committee to the board for their consideration. These are not actionable tonight. These are for the board to take up as we move forward. First is updating the 2009 Dijon study. It's a population study that was done, which we used in connection with the bond issue, but that is old. We need to update it with current data. We are also recommending that we retain all the current properties. Every once in a while, you look at empty properties here that we have in the city of Strongsville, trying to determine what their highest and best use is. The committee still recommends that we keep all of those because a sale would be a short-term gain. that we think would not meet with the future needs of the district. And the final thing is that we need to target for a new permanent improvement bond issue to support the maintenance of the buildings. This would be a $500,000. That's a very small amount. Currently, the district has a $1 million bond that provides for the permanent improvement. As we continue to maintain the buildings, the costs increase, and we think that that should be done. And we've targeted for it to be done to access matching funds that were put aside by the Ohio Schools Facilities Construction Committee when we built the new middle school and did the high school renovations. That would net us about $5 million in matching funds to be able to use for the district as we may do construction projects in the future. So we want to be clear as a committee that the permanent improvement funds do not pay salaries. They pay to maintain buildings, equipment, and facilities. A bond issue is different than the operating. And at this point, there is no timetable for this, but we think that it should be done before 2023. And the hope of the committee and what we will be continuing to work towards is that that would be piggybacked to the expiration of a bond issue that is currently on the books. Our committee believes that this can be done by the district and by the voters in order to continue to maintain our buildings. So recommending the update of the 2009 population study, there are many ways that that can be done. There are many more companies other than DeJong that do it these days. But the important thing is that we get a plan that tells us where the population is headed and what we can expect. So the Board Facilities Development Committee is charged with building the strategy for a successful long-term effort. We are addressing that, and the sustainable value to the community is something that we think is very important. We've issued this report so that there's continuing dialogue with our residents, who are the owners of the district, about the use, condition, and function of our district facilities. So the report is submitted. We're giving that to you tonight. We will continue working as we do through the next years in order to maintain the approach that we've done so that there is a strategic goal and a strategic endpoint that we seek. Happy to answer any questions that you may have, but I think the report addresses a lot of information. As it will be public record and available to the public, we encourage people, obviously, to take a look at this and see what we're talking about. Again, there's nothing dramatic. This is not a big change. We've just continued on the path of updating things with a strategic plan and endpoint in mind.
Excellent. Well, thank you for the work. Thank you for going through it. It's a great committee. Something that was really important that we got in place, and no better man than you to serve on it. So thank you.
Oh, we have a lot of good people, Carl.
I know we
There are
do.
10 people that
I know.
all bring
I know.
things to the table.
I know, but it's always good to see you there, so thank you.
Okay? Thank you.
Ken.
Thank you, Kim.
With that, that concludes my report to the community.
We have no public comment. That brings us to approval of minutes, the November 7th minutes for the board. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Duke. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jane. Any discussion? We've read them all. George, take roll.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes,
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Motion passes.
it's all yours, George.
What's that?
Treasurer's report, it's all yours.
No, thank you, Mr. Naso. Before I go in the treasurer's report, I just want to say congratulations and thank you to Jane and yourself for your years of service that you served on the board and the leadership that you provided, and concur a lot with Mr. Rivo said previously. So thank you, and you also were part of the board that gave me my first opportunity too in this position. So appreciate it, and thank you for your leadership and your guidance.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
So for my treasurer's report, I have a series of items for your consideration tonight. The first three are the same, or not the same, but in the same grouping for our insurance renewals that are effective for calendar year 2020, January 1st through December 31st. Our dental, vision, and life insurance, which can be found in exhibits A, B, and C. There was no premium change. The premium amount remained the same as this year. What's missing is our health insurance renewal, which was typically in January, but since we joined the consortium, we were locked in for another 6 months at our current rate, and those renewals moving forward with the consortium will be from July 1 through June 30th.
Do you still think that the savings from the consortium will be in the $400,000 to $500,000 range?
It looks like it so
Okay.
far. It's still early to tell, but so far the first, we're what's called immature based on our claims, so we paid in there because,
Maybe you are.
what's that?
I'm no longer immature, but go ahead.
No, it's in the industry term, in the sense where the claims have get a 6-month runoff.
Okay.
So we were paying, our current bill is based on our self-insurance fund, so now the current bills are starting to kick into the insurance, into the consortium fund. But so far, it's generating a savings, and we'll see a greater savings when renewal time comes, because they're gonna go back out to bid with a bigger group, with the districts involved.
Thank you.
So item D and E are kind of the same as well. New funds for 2020 and grant approvals for 2020. 5 of these are from the Strongsville Education Foundation. They awarded grants for a flexible seating grant to Deb Kuntz, who's a 4th grade teacher at Chapman. A stand-up desk grant to Charles Whitaker, who's a 3rd grade teacher at Soror. Document cameras for the kindergarten classrooms at Kinsler Elementary. A Loving Literacy grant to Andrea Zach, who's an intervention specialist at Whitney Elementary. And a French and Spanish art movement grant, which is for the World Language Department at the high school. And then the last one is is a federal grant, which is a reallocation by the Ohio Department of Education for IDEA B preschool reallocation for $787. And then item F, which can be found in Exhibit D, is a change to the amendment appropriation, which is due to the grants that are listed above. And then item G, and then I also have an addendum, item H. They'll require each individual votes, but they're coming from, they're being generated from the same issue. And just to give you a broader context of the issue is, every year by March 31st, property owners can contest their value with the county, and this was for tax year 18. So by March 31st, 2019, they contest their property value for tax year 18. And then also the district has the same opportunity to look at sales and contest values of property by March 31st. So at that time, we challenged a series of values based on sale price versus the current valuation. And we reached these, you could reach settlements within the Board of Revisions, or you could reach settlements outside of the Board of Revision with the property owner for direct tax payments. So we reached 2 settlement agreements so far. The first one in item G is for a direct tax payment with a great escape, based on the sale price was $5.9 million. We believe this should be valued at the current county valuation is $5.9 million, and the sale price was $11.5 million. So we contested the value, and we agreed, and we came to agreement for an out-of-court tax settlement for 3 years of $47,500. And the complete terms of the agreement can be found in Exhibit E. So we received 3 payments, one this fiscal year, one next fiscal year, and one this calendar year, the next one, March 2020, the following calendar year, which are in the same fiscal year, and then the following calendar and fiscal year, March 2021.
Okay.
So
So-
this will require this will
Could I have a
require
motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Duke. Can I have a
Second.
Thank you, Jane. Okay. Any further discussion? No, nice work. I think the only thing I'd like to say is that I know we're using David Seed now
Correct.
as our attorney for that. I see him downtown all the time, and in these things, people kind of shudder when they see him coming, not because he's ferocious, but he's just tenacious. He doesn't go away.
Right.
He just stays and stays and stays until they break. So
Yeah.
we've got the right guy for the job.
Yeah, we'll
So,
be seeing more of these. David is,
Yeah.
He's aggressive when it
Right.
comes to these challenges, and he does a phenomenal job.
Yeah, he does a great job, so, good work. Then let's take a vote.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Um,
So we have to do 10H now?
Correct.
Yep.
So going to the addendum, 10H, same thing with a direct property tax settlement, and this is for the company's Lamerit West, but they're the Michaels properties. There's the properties that are located on DeRice Parkway, which were formerly DeRice. Overall, the value, the current county valuation was $27.9 million, and the purchase price was $40 million, so we contested the value based on the purchase price. And the company, Lamera West, Michael's companies agreed to make the district whole for the difference, which is about $178,000 a year. So again, one payment this calendar year, one payment by March of next calendar year, which is the same fiscal year, then another payment in 2021. So overall, it would add up to about $534,000. And the complete agreement can be found in Exhibit I.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Duke.
Second.
Thank you, Jane.
Jane, if you want any of these, just let me know first. It's okay.
You're fine.
Any discussion? Nope. Let's take a vote.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Motion passes. And with that concludes my report, and Mrs. Ludwig, Mr. Naso, thank you again.
Well, thank you. Thank you for all your hard work, making us look so good.
Oh.
The notorious budget awards and everything else you've done. You took that budget and all our financial data from basically crap to really good, to outstanding work. I mean, we had combined accounts, we had, archaic systems, and that upgrade you did and all the work you did breaking it out, I still cherish that 500-page budget document that you provide us each year, and it's amazing, so thank you.
Speaking of which, the 2020 is now located on our
Is it?
website. It
You're not
is.
gonna print, you gotta print me one last one.
I'll print you one.
Okay. Outstanding.
Yep.
Breck, Superintendent?
Thank you, Carl. Under timely information, it is that time of year where this week has been a big concert week. We've got more concerts coming up next week before we go on break. So perhaps some of the elementary concerts, middle school, and we got one middle school left, but middle school and high school were predominantly this past week. And I know I shared it out on Twitter, but we'll be sharing it out publicly. We do now have a streaming network, SCS TV, and we piloted it with our choir concert, and it worked extremely well. So Dave and his crew and Scott have done a phenomenal job. So what that means is that you can go on our website or Facebook page, wherever you're at in the country, you can see it live from where you're at. If you want to watch it on your TV, if you have the Fire Stick, if you have Apple TV, if you have Roku, just download the Boxcast app, search for Strongsville Schools. So I tested it out to keep Dave honest back there. I watched it on the website, I watched it on Fire TV, and both looked great and came through perfect. So we're excited to roll that out for a lot of our events. And we're going to start doing that with athletics as well, Dave, right?
Yes, that's the plan.
Yeah, so eventually, once we get this worked out, we'll be able to stream our athletic events as well, some of them that we're filming. But welcome you to come out and see some of the middle school concerts, or if you have students in the elementary school that are singing or playing an instrument, that we'll have those concerts next week. And check our athletic website to see all the athletic events that'll be happening for the winter sports season around the district. And as you can see, Friday, December 20th is the last day for kids before we go on winter break. Our staff will be here. It's a professional development day for us. But from December 20th to January 3rd, we hope everybody enjoys the time off and a wonderful holiday season. And as you can see at the bottom, one of the things Jenny and Dan and our wellness team from the middle school have been planning is the first Mustang spring run. We're going to do a 5K family fun run walk on Saturday, April 18th, in conjunction with a wellness fair put on by our middle school wellness department. So we'd encourage everybody to save the date. And Jenny, any other information at this time?
No, we're just excited about it. I also want to thank the Strongsville Youth Commission because they've been an integral part of helping us plan, and they're going to plan all the kid events for us. So I just want to thank them for their partnership as well. And the police department, they've helped map out the run and the walk so that it's safe for everybody. And so we appreciate their insight and partnership as well. And Strongsville Education Foundation, thanks Dan. Strongsville Education Foundation has also offered to help, and I think we have them on pancake patrol, I think, something like that, right? Yeah.
Not patrol, we're having a
Patrol, pancake breakfast is
Pancake
associated for anybody that is a paid runner or walker will get pancakes that morning. So we're excited about it.
Well, it'll be a great event, and every year we try to do we do the greet and treat every year, but we try to do a new spring event. Last year we did the Harlem Wizards, which was a great community event. This year we're doing the 5K run walk, and as long as the Hausums don't participate and win every prize,
We have a chance.
we have a chance.
If I'm running, you're running, Robin.
I volunteered for pancake duty, so that's my athletic skills. Couple other things for timely information. I did want to bring to the community's attention, this does not impact Strongsville City Schools, but there was an article in the Sunday Plain Dealer about Ed Choice, if you've heard about Ed Choice. It's an extremely disturbing topic for me as a superintendent and for my colleagues in school districts across the state. This is a law that was in place a while ago, because of the changes in the state tests system. It's been delayed a little bit, but basically what it has done is it's expanded a scholarship or voucher program for kids attending underperforming public schools to go to private or parochial schools with a tuition voucher. Couple things that I just like to make note of. The state is providing 60,000 of these vouchers across the state. They will increase by 5% every year, and there is no cap. And again, as I said, you can use these vouchers to go to private or parochial schools. The concern that I have as a superintendent is that they are putting rules on public schools that they don't evenly apply to all schools. So this money, your tax dollars, can go, up to $6,000 of it, can go to pay private or parochial school tuition to schools that do not have to follow the same state accountability standards that we do. And so what the state has designated is they've designated a set of criteria, and the ones that would apply to us as a suburban, high-performing district are performance. So they look at your performance index grade on your report card. They look at your value-added grade. They look at your graduation grade, and they look at your K-3 literacy grade. And right now for this year, if you got a poor grade and a D or F in 2014, 2018, or 2019, you are an Ed Choice school, or you could be an Ed Choice district. Now, we may think this is some other type of school district in another part of the state. Solon has an Ed Choice school district. Brecksville, or school building. Brecksville Broadview Heights has a couple Ed Choice school buildings. Because back in 2014, maybe they got this letter grade. And the other scary thing is you only have to meet one of these criteria. You meet one of these criteria, you're an Ed Choice school. So let me just do a little math, because here's the part that's interesting. There's different criteria. Not every kid would get a scholarship because there's limits, right? But right now, we have 267 Strongsville students that attend a parochial high school. Based on the way the law is written, those students who never have to step foot ever in Strongsville City Schools are eligible, if we were an Ed Choice high school, for $6,000. So let me say that again because it doesn't make sense, but it's the law. A high school student that never stepped foot in Strongsville City Schools, if for some reason our performance would dip and we would be an Ed Choice high school, they could have access to $6,000 of tuition money to pay for their private or parochial school education, even though they have no affiliation with Strongsville City Schools. It's a little different rules for elementary school, but if you just do the math, 267 students times $6,000, that's $1.6 million in funding that would be deducted from Strongsville City Schools and used to pay the Ed Choice scholarships to private or parochial school tuition. So again, we are advocating as an educational group against this. We all believe, or I can speak for myself, and my colleagues that are in this position, we believe in accountability. We believe that we should be held to a standard and we should be provided supports, but what this is doing is not helping support schools that need that support. And it's also providing financial funding to schools that don't have to meet any accountability standards. So it's something that we're continuing to advocate on a state level. And even though it doesn't impact us this year, if the law stays as it is, these rules will continue to be implemented and increase for more schools and more districts as we move forward. And I bring this up because as I transition to talk about the school calendar, one of the reasons we set up the school calendar the way we do is to give us ample time before state assessments so that we can adequately prepare our students. So, as I wanted to share with the board, Laura did a great job of sharing our 2 draft calendars. The day after, I sent it out to all of our parents and community members to let them know that we have this time for feedback on the calendar. And I'd say I probably received a dozen replies. The most popular reply, and I just wanted to share as you make the decision on the calendar, so I'd say probably about 70% of the replies were, why are we starting so early? You know, we'd rather start later in August and get out in June, basically because weather patterns in Ohio lately have not been greatest in June. So I just wanted to share that feedback with you is why are we starting so early in August? As Laura shared, the feedback of the committee is really 2 points. One point is if you want to have high school semester exams before winter break, the calendar gets built from there and you have to move it back and it gets earlier in August. It's also important to note that we are starting school 1 day earlier, or the draft calendar is 1 day earlier in August of 2020 than it was in August of 2019. So the last 2 years we've been basically in the same spot. But the main driver was getting high school exams before winter break so students could go and truly enjoy their winter break and not have to worry about exams when they come back. The other part is about getting that ample time for state exams. So I know, we've done relatively well. There's always room for growth and improvement, and we're working and driving that growth and improvement. But there are serious consequences for school districts if we don't continue to perform. Because it's not just our district report card, it's every single building in the district that the rules apply to as well. So these tests, the way, unfortunately, in my opinion, that the state is using the test as a hammer to penalize schools, it has serious financial consequences. If enacted, some of my colleagues will have to go on for a levy because of the amount of funding that they're going to lose in their school district. So using that August early start date, when most of our tests are April-ish, that helps us give time. Having more instructional time in June doesn't help us with that overall goal. The other feedback that we received, or question, was why did we move spring break from predominantly the last week of March to the middle of April or following the Easter holiday. Laura again shared that we came in conjunction with the Polaris calendar, that it would be the week after Good Friday. So that in conjunction with March is a really long month now. There's really no breaks in March. We put 1 professional development day. But as you make your decisions and reflect on that, for our incoming board members and our board members returning in January, I wanted to share with you those were the 2 main points of feedback that was received from the calendar.
One thing that makes me think of on the testing is that when our AP students opt out of the test, when our best and our bright kids opt out, and we have to find a way to incent them not to opt out, because it certainly hurts the results when they don't take the tests. I think we have to find a way to do that. It's essentially, I'm sorry to say it, but it's lazy. Just take the test. Have some school pride and take the test, because that's what we need to do. You need to have our best and our brightest taking those tests so we can maintain those grades and improve. And when, parents allow their students, because they have so many tests, I get that. But that test is critical. That test determines a lot. And that test could drive money and funding and a lot of other things. And pride in the city, it gets published. We can't have that. So that's my take on it. You have to find a way to incent these kids to take that test.
And the other thing, Mr. Naso, that we've been advocating at the state level is if the state is creating all these criteria for graduation pathways that allow students to take college credit plus and get credit for that, or allow students to pass an AP exam and not have to take end of course exams, then give us an equivalency score.
Right.
Count those scores. If you're saying college credit plus is an eligible supplement, instead of taking the on-campus course or on-campus test, then transfer, make an equitable transition from the grade to a report card measure.
Right.
Or take the AP exam score and make it a report card measure. Let's not double test these students, but let's make an equitable way
Don't
don't
penalize
penalize
us on the
us.
state test,
Right,
right?
and so those are some
It
of the
has to be a
things
way
that
to
we're,
eliminate. Well, you're designing a new report card. Fit
we're,
that
we're
in
still
there.
working on it. That is a part of our proposal, is to allow these things to have credit, transferable credit if they take eligible options. Any
Mr.
oth-
Naso?
Yes.
I just wanted to piggyback on Cameron's comments about the Ed Choice Scholarship. The one part that I don't know how clear it was explained, the $6,000 scholarship in and of itself, you know, you can have your opinion on it, but it comes out of the school's budget. So every student that goes there, it's not a $6,000 scholarship from the state. It's $6,000 that's deducted from the money that the state sends to Strongsville, which, again, you can argue your opinion about, but one of the things that I think is egregious is the scholarship deducts $6,000 for every person who takes advantage of the scholarship. However, the state doesn't give us, or give is the wrong word, because we send more money to the state. The state doesn't return to us $6,000 per student. It's not, you know, it's not even a one-to-one relation. We currently are getting approximately $1,500 per student, right? Rough number. So
About 1,200.
the state is, for every student enrolled in Strongsville, we receive $1,500 from the state. For every student that leaves Strongsville, they deduct $6,000. That's state mathematics. It wouldn't work in AP calculus. It wouldn't work in first grade arithmetic, but it does work in Columbus. But that is a part of it that just sticks in my craw, if not everyone's craw.
And one thing to be clear, that money that comes out is income tax money that comes out of the state funding. It doesn't have anything to do with the local tax levy that we just passed. So it doesn't, it's not that local money, it's state money. But that's a great point, Richard. Any other comments?
Hey, Cameron,
Yeah.
did we name our streaming thing SCS TV? Is that
Yes.
what it's called? Okay.
Yeah.
And so if everybody Googled SCS TV, they'd be able to find it?
Well, probably not yet. Google
Okay.
works by a number of hits and
Okay.
access, so it's on the website. We will be, Dave and Dan are working together. They'll send out an announcement to our parents and community so they can access the links. But if you go to our Facebook page,
Got it.
it's on there, but where it's at on the website and the directions. Dave did a nice little graphic that he put out on social media, but we'll put that out through email as well. And with that, Mr. Bruckner is ready for the business service report for the month. Steve?
Good evening, everyone.
Before you get started, Mr. Bruckner, it's good to see all the trucks in your driveway, rebuilding your home.
Oh, thank you. So they're not school trucks.
They're not school, they're not school trucks. No, they're contractors, but it's good to see progress.
Oh, yes, it is, very good, thank you. The first item on the agenda for tonight is the purchase of BOLO Sticks, which is a barricade device for the buildings. Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the purchase of BOLO Sticks from the BOLO Stick LLC at the total estimated price of $29,313.40. Funding is to be actually from a state grant, school safety grant that we have applied for. So that is a change to what's there. It's not going to come from Permanent Improvement Fund. It'll actually come, the proceeds will be from the safety, school safety grant that was issued to us. That we've applied for, and we're anticipating. We got this grant last year, so we anticipate getting it again this year.
Yeah, I was gonna piggyback on what Steve said. We applied for the grant, we got notification that will be awarded to it. It was a dollar amount from 26,000. So we thought we may get it by today. We didn't, so we're still waiting on the award, and the difference would be made up out of the Permanent Improvement Fund.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Just describe to us exactly what a BOLO stick is.
So if you would think about a deadbolt, but it goes into the ground rather than to the side. So the installation process is we're going to have to drill a hole into the floor, and
if there's an event, the teacher could just simply take this pin and slide it into a harness or
Bracket.
a bracket, thank you, that's on the door, fits into the ground, and then that bracket can withstand, I think it's like 2 tons of force being shoved up against it. So that door becomes barricaded from intruders coming from the outside. It's another safety enhancement for our classrooms. This is done, and the local police, Strongsville Police Department, Strongsville Fire Department have been involved in this process. According to safety plans that we have to submit to the state, we need to have them sign off on any kind of barricade devices so that they're aware of what we're doing in the schools. In case there is an emergency and they need to come in, they need to know what they're facing when that happens. So this is done also with their approval, and they've been involved since the beginning.
All right. Any further discussion? We have a vote?
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The second item is transportation for non-public students. Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the school bus transportation for listed students be declared impractical, that the time and distance required to provide transportation, the cost of providing transportation in terms of equipment, maintenance, personnel, and administration, and additional services unavoidably disrupts current transportation schedule. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education, in lieu of providing transportation, pays the parents of students attending these schools. The reimbursement will be based upon the amount allotted by the state.
All right.
All right. The
Yep.
third item is the purchase of baseball and softball scoreboards. Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the purchase and installation of new baseball and softball scoreboards from Daktronics Incorporated at the quoted price of $50,623, funding to be from the Permanent Improvement Fund.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, George. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jane. We're sure these are adequate, these boards?
I wanted to show you exactly what you're motioning and moving on
Okay,
to
excellent.
purchase these. So this is a mock-up of what and they'll be very similar. The only difference will be what's actually on the top. The one will say Mustangs Baseball. It's going to be a bigger board than what we have right now. For the softball, it's going to be as big as what we have for baseball. It will be digital so that we can, a nice little, for visitors coming in, we can put their school mascot up there. It does have increased information on the board, and this is the softball one. So it's a marked improvement from what we have. It'll also be moved because right now with the softball scoreboard and the placement of it, you really can't see it when you're in the dugout. You have to come out of the dugout to see what the score is. So we'll be moving that accordingly. But they are bigger scoreboards, more information on them, and I think that they will be a source of pride in the facilities that are out there.
And to add on to what Steve shared, the baseball scoreboard broke last spring, so that is an urgent need that we do need to replace that prior to the baseball season starting. And Steve shared why the enhancements of the softball scoreboard would be prudent at the same time.
And to be clear, they'll be ready for both seasons?
Correct.
Great.
Steve, placement will take account for sun?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I was just gonna lob a softball to George that I don't think our Facilities Development Committee has really thought about all of our scoreboards, but it's probably something we need to add to their list of things to think about and maintain, and instead of letting them get to the point where they break and then we're rushing to fix and replace them, you know, let's get them on our punch list so we consider them and keep them part of our plan.
Yep.
Okay.
What other ones would we need?
At this point, we'd be looking at just looking to maintain the middle school scoreboards. There's another one, and then the stadium scoreboard as well. At that, not replace at this point, but just putting it into a plan of making sure everything's working and functioning so we can keep them working as long as possible before we have to replace.
And they're not in our budgets.
No.
Correct.
Correct, so
That's
I'm
something
just
we would
saying we
need.
need to,
I'd
you
have
know,
to
when we're
work with
listing
Mr. Ziegler
priorities
on
and
that.
things like that, let's
Yeah.
get all of these kinds of
Mhm.
assets into those lists.
Is there any kind of preventative maintenance that you're aware of that you would call people into, like, you know, give them a tune-up or check them out? Or do you wait? Do you
I'm
go to
not aware of
failure?
any, but if you give me a little bit of time, I can be.
Yeah.
And I'd work with Mr. Ziegler on that. He did a lot, the majority of the legwork on all of this. I just get to present it. He's not here tonight, but a lot of this under his purview of, you know, what are we needing? And I can definitely get with him and see what he's discussed with a lot of these companies.
Kind
Yeah.
of what Richard's talking about. You can either, an ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure. And if
I
we,
agree.
if we work them to failure, then we're gonna be stuck with an immediate expense versus if you get them periodic maintenance.
Something as simple as getting the dust out of them, right? Just like a refrigerator, move it
Yeah.
out of the way and make sure that all the vents are clear and
And
it's
I
not
don't even,
overheating. And
I don't
even
know
know it's possible, but-
what kind of PMI they have, but if there is some, Steve, it might be worthwhile finding out.
Agreed.
Okay.
Vote.
Vote.
Mr. Rosen?
Yep.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Steve. We have no items under curriculum or student services for this month, so we'll move on to Jenny with the Human Resource Report.
Thank you, Dr. Iba. I too would like to thank both Carl and Jane for your leadership and support. It's been a pleasure, and we're really going to miss you. Thank you.
Miss you.
Thank you.
Under Human Resources this evening, I have the following items for your consideration. Under E1, with one resignation of a non-certificated staff. Under E2, appointments for non-certificated staff, appointments for certificated substitutes, appointments for non-certificated substitutes, appointments for certificated supplemental contracts paid upon completion, appointments for non-certificated supplemental contracts paid upon completion. Under E3, changes in hours of non-certificated staff. Under E4, change in status for non-certificated staff. Under E5, medical leaves for certificated and non-certificated staff members. Under E6, unpaid medical leave for a non-certificated staff member. Under E7, volunteer chaperones and mentors. Under E7 also, volunteer coaches. And finally, under E8, terminations for substitutes. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Jane.
We have no items under technology, so that concludes the superintendent's report for the month.
All right, that brings us to
For the
the
year.
report on Polaris. Richard?
Thank you, Mr. Naso. I just have a quick report. I want to invite the public to watch Channel 3 tomorrow at 7 p.m., where Betsy Kling is going to have a Girls in STEM piece, and it's going to highlight Polaris Career Center. And rumor has it, it will be her finale for Girls in STEM, so it should be a great piece about Polaris, and hopefully encourage some of the girls in our student community to think about STEM careers and whether Polaris fits there. That concludes my Polaris report.
Now legislation?
And just a quick update on legislation as far as the school funding work that the state is doing. If you remember last time, I gave a report about how Larry Householder was thinking about changing how we allocate funds, and the governor has come out and said that he would not support such a plan. So that's good news, and I think Columbus is starting to get ready for the holiday break, so that's about all I have to report on. Thank you.
That's good news, too. That brings the board liaison reports. Jane, City Council?
Okay, City Council at their last meeting, it was a quick meeting. Mr. Schoenhut is in the audience. Thanks for being here this evening. And the fire department received the 2019 Lifeline EMS Gold Plus recognition from the American Heart Association for outstanding cardiac care. So congratulations to our Strongsville Fire and Paramedic Department. And their next meeting is next Monday, if anybody would like to attend or watch it on TV.
Now you want to continue with the rest of your,
Okay, Strongsville PTA Council had their holiday luncheon. I was not able to attend. It's always like lots of good food and usually a short business meeting. But again, please continue to support all of our PTAs. They do amazing work for all of our students in our district.
And Mr. Naso, if I can interject as well, at that meeting, they shared $7,000 of PTA grants that were awarded to the different buildings. So
That's amazing.
thank you to the council PTA and all the building PTAs and our community PTA for the preschool for their generous dollars that they give back to our kids.
And I'm sure those will be reported in a
Yep.
future agenda.
By the end of the school year.
That's right, by the end of the school year.
student achievement?
Oh, student achievement, my last student achievement report. I went to the high school last week and was able to sit in on the AP seminar students giving their discussions and speeches on areas that they had researched. And one young man, he had a topic about how the social effects of gaming, and that gaming is actually a positive for students, and how it really encourages and helps the more withdrawn individual to communicate with people through the gaming. And it was fascinating to listen to his arguments, and they did a really great job. So the AP seminar class was started by Brian Tomino last year, and I encourage anyone with a high school student to, if they have allowed in their schedule, to take this class. It would be an invaluable for lifelong lessons that they can get from that. So I look forward to seeing how they are. I think you attended one of their classes as a speaker, didn't you?
Yeah, it's a 2-year program. So AP seminar is first, and then they go to AP research. And so it's phenomenal. Yeah, I spoke to the class about creating survey and analyzing survey results, but just hearing the topics that the kids are exploring or studying are important, timely, and a great experience for them to. That's what it's all about. Kids answering a question that they have and learning the process how to do a good research study. So it's
Right, and they were videotaped, so then
Yeah.
they can listen and watch back their tape to see where they need help or not. I was very impressed.
Yeah.
So thank you to Alex Maddox for letting me sit in on her class last week. And then I got to go and look at our maker spaces, and that was very fun. And I had something to drink from the Mustang Cafe upstairs. I spent my day at high school. I felt like it's back in, And I was there, and I know maybe 12 students at the high school. I ran into 3 of them that I knew. I was like, of all the kids there. And then I also wanted to highlight the Strongsville City Schools quality profile that everybody received. This is just a phenomenal overview of all of the accomplishments and things that we are doing in our district. So it's kind of easy to overlook that it came in your mailbox. So if you need a copy of it, I'm sure you can come up to the admin building and get a copy of it here. But thank you to Dan Faust for putting this together, and I'm sure it took many other staff members, but some really great things in here. So that concludes our student achievement.
All right. I don't think we have, do we have a report out from the Education Foundation?
no, they canceled their meeting for
That's
this
what I
month.
thought. Okay, that brings us to just the Finance Policy Facilities Committee. The next meetings are all listed in here. February 10th will be the Finance Committee. Policy Committee doesn't have a date set yet. Facilities will be January 30th, and the Business Advisory Committee will be January 10th. Consent calendar, these are all items with an asterisk are approved in a single vote. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, George. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jane. There are no alterations to the consent calendar, so any discussion?
There was one change on that funding source.
But it was an individual vote, so it wasn't in
Okay.
it wasn't in the consent. But thank you for pointing that out, so I missed that. Any discussion on any items? If not, George, let's vote.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes,
Colonel Evans?
Yeah.
Motion passes.
excellent. That brings us to Board of Education and Other. I do have one other. I didn't attend the last meeting, but I watched it. And I just wanted to thank Colonel Duke Evans for his leadership, his loyalty, and his commitment. And I just want to, it's been a pleasure to serve with you, and hope you serve on, and good luck to you.
Thank you, Carl.
Any others?
Christmas in the Village is this weekend, again at the Historical Society from 2 to 5 on Saturday and Sunday. And Santa Claus will be at the Baldwin House if anybody would like to come and visit, and all the houses are decorated, so it's free. So hope to see a lot of you there.
Thank you. Meeting notice. Board of Education 2020 Organization Work Session meeting will be on what day?
January 9th, 2020.
All right. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Duke, can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Not, let's vote.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Executive session. I do understand there is a need for executive session.
There is to consider the appointment and employment of a public employee or official and to prepare for negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment.
All right. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, George. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jane. Let's have a vote. I will not be attending executive session, so.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Ye-
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Naso and Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Enter into executive session at 8:15 or sooner.